I showed up. Like there's so much power in showing up. And I think that's
Mhm.
such a big piece of herbs in general and plants in general is like, you're not going to learn them if you don't show up to meet them or show up to use them or. We have a lot of really lovely pines here, but Pinion's just like, she's special. It's something that can be used internally, externally, aromatically. It's delightful. It can be something that can be like diverse and things you would never even think, like a pine with coffee. Like, why would you do that? But it's amazing.
Welcome to the Herbs with Rosalee podcast, a show exploring how herbs heal as medicine, as food, and through connecting with the living world around you. In this episode, I'm joined by Briana Wiles to explore Piñon, a tree known for its rich aromatic resin and its ability to support the lungs, fight infections, and, as we learned from Briana, bring a surprising sense of grounding. And towards the end, we explore an idea that might shift how you think about relaxing nervine herbs altogether. This is a conversation that moves between the practical and the experiential, between what Piñon does in the body and how it can shift how you feel. If you enjoy this episode, please give it a thumbs up so more plant lovers can find us, and be sure to stay tuned until the very end for your herbal tidbit. Briana, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you and I go way back. Like way back. I don't even remember when I first met you. Definitely it had to have been a Kiva Fest somewhere.
I was trying to pin it down where I was like, my first Kiva Fest was 2011. And
Mine
so,
too. Mine too. So
yeah, so I was like, was Rosalee there? Because I knew nobody. I came there
yeah.
and I still to this day don't even know how I found the website. I had Googled something and it came up and I was like, I need
Wow.
to go to that. And then I like showed it to Bryant and we had just been married like a year, right? And I was like
Wow.
trying to figure out how to get into herbs. And somehow that showed up. And in the same realm, I remember Jim's website showing up. So I don't know if it like somehow, and I didn't know Jim yet either, but it was like
Mhm.
after the event and after meeting Jim, I was like, that Michigan, you were a part of that search somehow. And
Mhm.
like, so that's how I met everybody was
Yeah.
showing up to Kiva Fest in 2011.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember meeting you, but I remember you always being a part of my life. So it's just
Yeah.
like it was meant to be.
It's
Yeah.
like a lot.
And
Yeah.
as a result of that, when I started this podcast in 2021, you were one of the first people I asked to be on the show. Yeah. And you turned me
And
down. Do
look,
you
here
remember?
we are, 2026.
Yeah. 5 years later. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
sometimes I take like a little like warming up,
Yeah.
like I just
This is a
need.
5 year warm up. Yeah, but I asked you, and I don't think you said no. I think you dodged, and
I
then we were
feel like
hanging
a
out.
lot happened
Yeah,
during the last 6 years,
sure, okay, don't play that card, but yeah, and then we hung
So
out at a 40th birthday party. Our good friend Rebecca and I
we
gave you a
did.
lot of crap for not being on my podcast then, but that didn't work. Yeah,
No, I still didn't show up for a few more years. It still took
yeah,
another 5. So
yeah. And then we were hanging out at Great Lakes, and is that where I finally got the yes?
yeah, it was this
Yeah,
last September that you finally
so
cut me
persistence,
down in front of an audience and
persistence.
told me that I
Yeah, in
hadn't.
front
But
of an audience.
actually, it was only because I was jealous of Alex
Oh,
getting to
okay.
be on
Herbalist After Hours.
the herbalist
Yeah.
after hours with Mason, and it was
Yeah.
jealousy that got me. And I said, "Wait, why am I not getting invited here?" And
Yeah.
then it was like, "Well, you've already been invited, and you don't show
Yeah.
up."
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad. Okay, I'm getting to see like what manipulative ways work. In any
Yeah,
case,
yeah,
this is all to say it's been a long time
yeah.
coming
It's
because I love you and we've been friends for so long. It feels kind of strange sometimes when my friends haven't been on the show yet,
I
Like
know,
what
right?
are we
We're like,
doing here?
it's like the recluse coming out, but really you're
Yeah.
not.
Well, thank
So
you. Thank you
thank
truly.
you. Thanks for
Yeah.
asking again. I feel like I
Good
just
again.
needed a couple nudges.
Yeah. Yeah. 5. Yeah, so here we are. And I'm so excited today to chat about Piñon. I'm so excited that you're in your beautiful store. I love the way you put together stores. We're going to talk about your store.
Thank
But first,
you.
let's like go rewind. You've already kind of talked about it a little bit. 2011, you're like, hey, I want to get into herbs. What called you into the plant path? I want to hear all about it.
So I was always a curious little creature, and my mom always leaned a little more natural in her ways of healing. And I come from an Italian Irish family, and so grandma and grandpa were like first generation here in America. And so they had a lot of tools up, like little tricks up their sleeves, like the garlic and the olive oil for earaches, or
Mm,
elderberry was a thing, or dandelion greens in the spring. collecting fruits in the woods, like apples and pears and the wild like fruits that my grandpa, he was a land developer. And so he had a lot of properties, and we'd go out on these properties that they would then develop into like neighborhoods. But he'd show us the feral trees, and so we'd always have like a scatter of fruits on his dashboard. And so it just, and like
Hmm.
grapes and raspberries, and he just kind of showed us those little things. And so I don't know, I was always curious. And then through high school that grew, and I got into body work and massage therapy and started getting kind of those modalities done to me at a young age because I was a competitive volleyball player and sore and needed help. And I just got curious. I was like, wait, what is this like hoodoo voodoo world of touching bodies and healing people and um like suggesting plant medicines to rub on? I'm like, what's arnica? Like where did that come from? Like I know chamomile tea. Like I just started connecting dots, I think, and it just became this world where I think I heard the word ethnobotany my freshman year of college. And I was like, like, I want to know what ethnobotany is and I want to study it all. And so that kind of set me off. In my college, I went to 5 different schools throughout Michigan and Colorado. But always curated kind of what I wanted to know because of the biology or the plant world, and never graduated. But like I collected a basket full of knowledge,
Oh, I
you know?
love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
hmm hmm
Yeah. What is better than that, really?
I mean, I call it like a smorgasbord. It was like, I showed up to the Kiva Fest. I think it was called Traditions back then, maybe. I don't remember the first
Yeah.
name.
Yeah. Traditions
And
of Western herbalism, I think.
right? Yeah. And so I showed up there, ended up bunking with Lisa Rose. And
Oh.
she was my bunkmate, and we didn't know each other. And then there was 2 other girls in the cabin that were also from Michigan that had Jim as a teacher, Camille and Gina. And they like brought me in, and they were like, wait, you're a Michigan girl though, but you live in Colorado? And I was like, yeah. And then we talked about where I was from, and Camille's from right up the road, and Gina's from not far away, and Lisa's from the other side of the state. And they were like, well, do you know Jim? And I was like, no, who's Jim? And they're like, oh, well, you got to come meet Jim. And so they dragged me to the main lodge, and they're like, this is Jim. And he lives in White Lake. And I was like, what? Like, you live 30 minutes away from where I grew up? And he was like, where'd you grow up? And I'm like, in Rochester Hills. He's like, yeah. Like, And I'm like, what? And then we just start chattering, and it's Jim. So you're like, you feel like you've known him forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I showed up. Like, there's so much power in showing up. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
such a big piece of herbs in general and plants in general is like, you're not going to learn them if you don't show up to meet them or show up to use them or. So
That's
I showed
powerful.
up, and
Yeah. It
yeah.
makes me wonder, Brianna, is like, obviously like the plans for calling you and you're on this path and all this stuff's happening. But it feels like the 2011 Kiva Fest like was a huge turning point. Like you showed up to that, you got, you found your Michigan crew.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I think we were at Ghost Ranch, right? So we were at Ghost Ranch in New
We
Mexico.
were at Ghost Ranch. Yeah.
Yeah. So just, but I'm saying I have no doubt that you're already on the path, but it kind of feels like showing up to that conference was an accelerator, perhaps.
It was huge because I thought you had to go. I came from the Catholic school world. Like, I'm a
Mm.
Catholic school girl. So I thought you had to like go to college, and like I didn't know how you would learn herbs. So I thought Bastyr was kind of like the only
Hmm.
thing. And that's where I had my gears towards.
Hmm.
And then I like had applied. I was like going there. Like that was the plan. I was gonna move to
Oh, wow.
Seattle and go to
Wow.
Bastyr. And I was finishing up all my prereqs that I needed, and I had them defer me for a year so I could finish a couple things, and I was like in. And then we went to visit, and I was like, oh, I don't know that that feels like where I want to be right now. Like, I'm like really sick of academia, and I'm really burnt out on it already. Like, I've already been doing it for a few years. And Seattle just like, it was too much for me. I was like, I don't want to be in the city. Like, I'd been in the mountains for a few years at that point,
Yeah.
and I came from the city. So I was like pretty grounded in not being there. And then because I went to that conference, I mean, I remember, I don't know who it was. It was someone there. And I had told her, like, I want to go to Bastyr. And she's like, why would you do that? And I was like,
Sorry. Sorry.
she goes, do you see who you're sitting around? And it was at lunch or something, right? And I'm just sitting at random tables because I know no one. And I was like, no, I don't like know who I'm sitting around, you know? Like I know nobody here. And like I don't know who Margie Flynn, I don't know who anyone is. I don't know anybody. I like Kiva means nothing to me. You meant no one meant anything to me. I didn't even know there was like a group of humans that did this.
Mhm.
And then I somehow end up at that. And so it was just like, okay. She was like, "No, you're like here. You just need to like pick who you want to study with." And I was like, "What?" And then I
Hmm.
picked Jim. And so I traveled from Colorado to Michigan for his 9-month course that he does, and he still does it. His Lindera course, greatest course ever, set me on my trajectory. This is his plug right here. Um, and so I went home for the weekends once a month and stayed with my mom and drove 25 minutes with my sister, and we took Jim's class. And then from there, I ended up going to Nicaragua with Paul Bergner and
Mhm.
Tanya and Seven Song and Lisa that
Right,
fall.
I remember that, yeah, because I really
Yeah, so
wanted to
I
go on
like went
a
in,
trip,
I just like,
and I
wait,
remember
these
all
are
your
my
posts about
people.
it.
Like I'm
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
yeah. Aw.
Yeah.
That is my dream, to go to Michigan once a month for a gym. It feels
I know.
it's my
I have a
dream,
place
so
you can stay. You can come see both of us. We're 30 minutes away from each other.
okay.
So
Well,
yeah,
that's settled then, thank you.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, so, well, what a fun story, and then yeah, and then somehow we were all friends.
And
That's just how that
somehow we
worked out.
all just kind of kept vibing, like that really was such a pivotal conference to be a part of and like keep going to. And then my schedule just got blown out with opening stores and teaching and kids and the like it really set me on my path, like getting into that with those um like such a spread of humans. Like you really got such a smorgasbord of who was bringing what to the table, and
Mhm.
still is. So it's
Well, let's talk about your first store briefly. You opened that in Gunnison, is that right? Gunnison, Colorado?
we opened the first one actually in Crested Butte, Colorado.
Crested Butte, actually, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. And that was in 2016. And then 2 years later, we were doing so well with getting stuff dialed and whatnot. We needed more space for manufacturing. And so we opened a second location in Gunnison, which is 30 miles south.
Mhm.
And we had that location until just last year. We closed it down so that we could grow even more and move out to Michigan here, where we got 10 acres of land. So we have like a little herbal homestead, I call it, over there, where we do a lot of manufacturing on the land there. And then
Mhm.
we opened this second store here in Romeo, Michigan. So the first baby was Crested Butte.
Yeah, so let's talk Crested Butte then.
Yeah.
Why in the world would it, like, how did this happen? Like, opening a store is no small feat. It is such a big
No,
deal. Like,
no. And I got reminded
I can't
of
even
that just recently.
imagine.
It's
Just
a big
recently,
deal.
yeah, so tell me about that. Like, you go to school with Jim, you're going to all these conferences, you're learning, 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 and then you find out a passion of yours is medicine making. I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
so it was like, when you have that spare bedroom in the house and you start adding things to it, and then it just like becomes its own living little beast. Well, that was the apothecary. And so
Hmm.
I just kept buying herbs and making things and tinkering around with what I was learning and like using them on people and myself and my husband and the animals and whoever would let me give them a jar or a tincture or anything. And so as you're
Mhm.
doing that, lo and behold, you create pantries, and all of a sudden you have a closet filled with bottles, you have more cupboards filled. Like it gets out of control really quick. I didn't know that was how that was going to go. So then it was like, well, now I have all these things. I should just keep making things that make more of them. And then I was like, a farmer's market seems like a pretty cool idea to see if we can't like sell it there, because what else am I going to do with all of this stuff that now turned into a whole room of our house? And so I started the first farmers market in 2011. It was like, or no, 2012. While I was taking Jim's class, I was like, let's launch it. And so I started selling things in Gunnison and Crested Butte. And we did that from 2011 until through the summer of 2016. I think after that first year that we opened the store, because it was kind of like, wow, if we can do this in 4 hours and this many people are that interested in herbal medicine and we're making that kind of income with just selling these random little products I'm coming up with from things that I just decided to create because people wanted them or because the plants were there and I wanted to see what the plants could do, and vice versa almost. And it was a business plan before you knew it. And then we found a for rent sign and said we should try to do this every day.
Yeah, you create such beautiful spaces too. I've never got to
Thanks.
visit one in person, but I watch on social media a lot, and you just create, yeah, these gorgeous spaces. And I'm definitely going to see the one in Michigan, I'm sure, if not
Yes,
next
you
year,
are.
but soon.
That's a
Yeah.
fun part of it. I like the design and making things whimsical and pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, you do a great job. I mean, even when I see you at the conferences now, like your booth is so fantastic and your
Thank
products are
you.
so fantastic. Last year, I fell in love with several things that I got at Great Lakes, notably the kava chill. What is it called?
Elixir to
Yeah, the
kava
kava
elixir.
elixir. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely lovely. Yeah, it was really,
it's
really nice.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey there. Just a quick note. If you'd like to hear from me in a more personal way, I'd love to have you in my free text community. I send a couple of texts every week, things like behind the scenes updates, herbal thoughts that I'm chewing on, and little sparks of joy I don't always share anywhere else. To join, just text the word root to 1-509-383-8398. And if you ever want to break up, no hard feelings. Just text STOP to the same number and you'll be opted out immediately. My goal is to make it so juicy and so fun that you look forward to getting my texts each week. Okay, now back to the show. Well, you have roots in Michigan, you have roots in Colorado too, and the plant you've chosen for us is pinyon. So I'm feeling the Rocky Mountain vibe from that.
I know. I felt like since we were gonna have this interview in Michigan, I needed to like pull in a touch of Colorado or something, like, and then we have a lot of really lovely pines here, but Pinion's just like she's special. Like even today I had someone come in the store and she was looking for something to kind of like bring her sparkle back in a way, and that's what I say Pinion does. Like she was like, I just need like myself back. And I was like, oh, I really like a combo of like Tulsi, Pinion, and lemon balm for that, and milky oats, and that's our Elevate
Oh,
elixir. And it's like so
wow.
nice, and it just like brings you back into like self, but like brings you that smile and that little sparkly feeling that Pinion gives you. So
Hmm.
I love
Oh,
Pinion. I think it's
that's so lovely.
delightful in all
Yeah, I
ways.
grew up in Southwest Utah in St. George, and the
Yeah,
we would get the nuts like pretty easily. You'd get them shelled, you buy
yeah,
them shelled, and
yeah.
that was like such a favorite thing as a kid to like shell them in your mouth and eat the pinyon pine nut. So it's a
It's so
plant that
good.
I've long loved, and yeah, I'm just excited to dive in wherever you would like to dive into.
Yeah, so I mean, I picked Pinion. Like I said, I picked it to show all of its qualities. Like it's something that can be used internally, externally, aromatically. It's delightful. Um, you can use it culinary wise as a flavoring. Like Pinyon simple syrup is one of my favorite things on the planet. Adding
Mhm.
Pinyon simple syrup to a cappuccino is like, it's so good. So it can be something that can be like diverse and things you would never even think, like pine with coffee. Like, why would you do that? But it's amazing. Um,
But now I have
and
to.
then what?
Now I have to. I don't even know
You
how I'm going
have
to
to try it.
concentrate on the rest of this.
It's
Yeah.
dude, it's so good. And then we distill it, like you can see. I think our still's right behind us. She's kind of wintered
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
So we make hydrosols with it. We use the essential oil of it. And so what I'm going to show you or talk to you guys about, since it's such a hyped thing right now, is Piñon Tallow. And
Mhm.
tallow's really, I feel like, having its golden age here in the last few years. So we might as well match it with Piñon. And we make a Piñon Tallow that we call our Piñon Tallow body oil. It's a little different than the recipe I gave to you guys, but like we add a little shea oil to it, and think there's some coconut oil and some jojoba and some other stuff. So it's more of a glossy body oil than like a thick
Mhm.
tallow. But you could do that from this recipe that I give you here. Whereas it's just getting fresh needles. And you could do that with Pinyon if you live in the area, but you could also do that with any conifer. So
Mm.
if you're in Michigan, you could use white pine, you could use any of the firs, you could use Doug fir. Conifers are delightful and they're super skin healing. Like they have this resin that comes out of the branches and the needles, or you could just pick the resinous chunks. I like to find the chunks on the floor, the forest floor, as opposed to picking them straight off the tree. Um, and then you can use that within your oils or your tallows. So infusing tallows really similar to infusing an oil. You'll heat up your tallow, you'll add in your fresh cuttings. Fresh is best. If you get dried pine, it's okay, but it's just not going to have the aromatics. And if you have no pine at all, you could substitute and use just like pinyon essential oil and not do the infusion part with the tallow, and you'd still get a really beautiful product. But you would do an oil infusion. So you'd heat your tallow, you'd chop up your fresh needles and branches, add in any resins that you'd want to, and you'd slowly, gently, on a really low temperature, like on a warm setting of a crock pot or something. I like to make a double boiler. I like to use a jar set into a crock pot with water so that you have a water bath there, so you have a gentle heat. Because you could deep fry your needles, and we don't want to do that. We're not making like fried pinion. And so low heat, gently heat that. You're going to have some water coming out of there, right? Because our pinion's fresh and we're going to have to work with that a little bit. So we're going to heat it for like 4 hours is all you really need to get those aromatics to trap in there and to get those oils and resins to melt into that tallow. And then you'll strain out your needles and branches. And what'll be left behind is our liquid tallow. And you're going to want to heat that up again. And the reason I heat it up again is because a little bit of moisture is going to be trapped in there from the branches and the twigs. And all that moisture usually sinks to the bottom of that jar. And you're going to see that look like little discoloration of darker color. Usually it's a little darker or looks like water droplets that starts to beat up on the bottom of the jar. And then I decant. So I pour that liquid tallow again into another clean jar. And I always like in this step to use a nice mesh strainer, like a not mesh strainer, but like a tea bag filter strainer, like set up a nice big tea bag and pour my tallow through there and leave behind any of that trapped liquid at the bottom of the jar. So usually you got to heat up your tallow again for about 30 minutes to an hour to get that water to trap to the bottom.
Okay.
And then you have this really pretty, nice smelling infused tallow that you can kind of use as like by itself as your tallow, or you could add other oils in there to make it more liquidy or more glossy or however you want it.
How do you make your own tallow? Do you buy tallow? People might be wondering about that.
So tallow, you could buy your own. There's a couple of different companies that sell it that way, where you can buy
really?
like
Already
yeah,
done.
like if you put in organic pasture raised beef tallow bulk, I feel like you can find that. You want to make sure, I like to get it without any sort of preservative in it if I'm doing it that way, if I'm not making it ourselves. So it's as pure as it can be. That's where you want to get picky with it, because sometimes if you're ordering them from like some bulk herbal companies or bulk places, there'll be a cut of a preservative in your tallow. And that's up to you if you want it or not, but I prefer it without, to have it just unadulterated. When we do our own tallow making, the steps that go into it, you can either do it as a wet render, which means that you're using water in there to purify it, or you can do it as a dry render where you're not using any water. And so what you're doing is you're heating up beef fat, and usually it's chunks of beef fat with like sometimes kidneys stuck to it still, because the best fat that we're getting from the beef is the organ fat, and that's the fat that has the most like substance in it that we want for our skin, like all the minerals and acids and things like that. So you slowly render it, where you slowly heat that fat up and it melts, and you watch just the fat kind of like melt away from everything. Um and then you can either, 'cause sometimes like I'll puree it a little bit in there to get the fat to really blend and to melt, um or just mix it really well, and then you do some straining and you'll do a couple renders of it. Usually that's dry. Sometimes with dry, people will use baking soda or salts in there to pull out some of the odors. Wet rendering, you put a little bit of water in there with your fats, and then you have to do a little bit more work to keep that water out of there. You're less likely to get spoilage in your render if you don't use the water. But some people prefer the water because you can take out some more of that beefy smell when you do it that way.
Oh, interesting. I've never done it with water before.
Yeah.
You kind of alluded to this a little bit, but I realized we should maybe even like take another step back and be like, why would one want to use tallow as opposed to using like a plant-based oil, for example?
So tallow's really gained its hype, I think, because it's so similar to our sebum, like to our oils in general. Like it's mammal for mammal, right, as opposed to plant to mammal, and so it's a mimic of what we have going on. So for a lot of people, you'll see that that extra fat barrier is beneficial for their skin. Some people it's not. Like some people really react to it in a bad way. Some people react to it in a good way. So that's the thing with the fads, right? Is like it's not for everybody, and they're going to get really hyped up, and everyone wants to get into it. And then, so for some people, it's like, oh my God, my whole face broke out. Like I'm a mess. And then for other people, they're like, I could never live without it. And so, what is it's healing the skin, and it's just kind of like giving the moisture and that protective skin barrier back a little bit. So, if you're someone who's already has too dry of skin and you're just throwing tallow on your face, those are the people that I see react poorly to it. Whereas if you're someone who's already using things like hyaluronic acid and you're taking good care of your skin, you have a nice skin barrier where you're not stripping it all the time and harsh with it. Like you're not stripping away all your oils constantly and making a tough skin. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that
Um,
makes sense.
like we don't wash our face with suds over here at Root Apothecary. We use oil cleansers because we've learned that suds strip and strip and strip, and then it almost makes the skin barrier firmer. You get flakier skin,
Yep.
it starts to toughen up, and so it becomes more problematic. And so when you can wash your face with an oil-based cleanser, you're not having that buildup, and your skin's just more supple. And then if you follow it with like a hyaluronic, where you're actually moistening the skin and making it plumper, when you go to add on the tallow, it's almost providing a barrier to keep all that other hydration locked in. And then
Mhm.
it's not tripping your skin out.
That
Yeah.
was a really great explanation. I'll add
Thanks.
another thing that I like about it is that most of our plant-based oils are come from far away. And so there's a sustainability issue that I really like with the tallow. Like I can get tallow like
That's a great
literally
point.
from down the road
Yeah. That's what we
versus,
were
I
doing at
love
first.
shea, I love coconut, but they come from far, far away.
Yeah. Like it's not. And like you said, most of the oils, like it's rare, even thinking to like even safflower, sunflower, that we're getting them within the United States region anymore. I mean, a lot of times on some of the good companies, like you can make sure you're ordering US, like they have those options for ordering within country or out, and you're usually paying more to order within our own country, and it's wild.
Yeah.
Um, but that's kind of stuff's important to me, and I think that's a really good point. Like we would get when we first started doing our tallow products in Colorado, we were getting it from Parker Pastures, which is our local,
Mm.
right down the road beef company. And then we needed help with the rendering. It was taking way too much time for us to render it
Yeah.
ourselves. But
Yeah. Hey friends, it's Rosalee. If you've been nourished by this podcast, if it's helped you feel more connected to the plants or more grounded in your own herbal path, then I'd love to invite you to join the Herbs with Rosalee podcast circle. This special membership helps make the podcast possible. It supports everything we do behind the scenes, and it gives you a chance to go even deeper with the content that you love. Inside the circle, you'll get exclusive herbal resources, live classes each season with some of my favorite herbal teachers, and a private space to connect with fellow plant lovers. It's where the heart of our herbal community continues to grow. To learn more and join us, visit herbalpodcastcircle.com. Your support means the world, and it helps this podcast continue to bloom. So we have, so first I'll just mention that you have shared this wonderful recipe of Piñon Tallow, and you can download this in the show notes or head over to herbswithrosaleepodcast.com. We have a beautifully illustrated version for you. And Briana, you've already walked us through it, but there's all the instructions there, measurements, etc. So you can check that out. And we kind of hit that here, and here. Let's just summarize, why would you want to make Piñon Tallow? Just a quick summary. We talked about tallow being
so
beneficial for the skin. Yeah, go ahead.
it's healing. We make a Piñon lip balm. That's one of my favorite lip balms I've ever used. Like it's something that is just so good and healing to the skin when it's like if there's sunburn going on, if there's chapped lips going on, Piñon, it's healing. Like that resin just it gets skin to heal. We do a face cream that's got rose and Piñon in it. And again, it helps to take out a heat, I feel like. So it takes out a redness a little bit and it helps to heal the chapped, which is my favorite thing. And it's antimicrobial. Like all pines have that antimicrobial segment to them, right? Where they're a pine, they're a high aromatic plant. And so it's got that healing power in there. Um and
I
it
love that too. It's
smells
like,
good.
this medicine from the Rocky Mountains where things are
Yeah.
dry and easily chapped and kind of, intensity there. And
Yeah. We're so
yeah,
close to
this
the
is meant for
sun.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Do you think you work
Mhm.
with Piñon more internally or externally?
I think externally I use it. We use it more. Um, we have it in a hair, like we use it at all parts of the body. Like we have a hair spritz that's based with pinyon, with
Wow.
rosemary. Um, we use it in, like I said, our lip balm. We've got the face cream. We've got the body oil. We've got the tincture that's got the tulsi, milky oats, and lemon balm with the pinyon, which is amazing for getting that sparkle
Mm,
to shine right
that
through.
sounds amazing.
Um, what else do we put it in? We put it in our wild about brine, like our brine packs for salts for brining meats and stuff like that. I don't,
Whoa,
yeah,
interesting.
I make soap. We do opinion soap.
Hmm.
Um, I chuck it into so many different things. And then the essential
Yeah.
oil, like we'll put it in essential oil blends. Like our clarity blend is really heavy pinyon. And it's like one of those essential oils I like rosemary, pinyon, and eucalyptus for a cold, or
Mm.
any conifer usually.
Oh.
Like if you need to do like a steam inhalation with
Mhm.
a pot of water and getting nice and steamy. Like right now, I feel like the kids are all back on the cycle of getting coughs again. And so it's that change of season, right? And like
Mm.
you're not sure if you're damp or dry, and everything's kind of just figuring itself out. And so those steams can be really good with those aromatics, and pinion's a nice one.
Mm.
Yeah.
I can tell you just love Pinion so much, and you're such an incredible formulator. Some of those options kind of blew my mind a little bit. The brine, especially. I
Yeah.
love that you mentioned it as a steam. There's that popular saying in herbalism, like better to know, how to use one herb in 20 different ways rather than 20 herbs in one way.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so I can
Same.
see that that's what you're doing with Pinion. Like
Yeah.
you love this plant, have worked deeply with it. You have
Hmm.
all these different ways of adding it into your daily life. I'm loving it.
Yeah. It's good. Pinion honey. Everyone needs to go make some. We used to make it.
Tell
I
me about
stopped
that.
making honeys, but I really need to start making honeys again. So Pinion honey is like really close to the Pinion tallow, and I feel like we're gonna just give you a second recipe that you need to try if you're trying the tallow. And it's like the same thing. You'd cut up fresh pine of any sort, but we prefer Pinion, and you'd cover it with honey. Warm your honey first so it's more liquidy to get in there, and then you
Mm.
heat that again, same way as the tallow on a really low heat. And it is so good. And you can drizzle that on like salmon, or blend it into a salad dressing, or
Mm.
um, put it anywhere you put honey, which honey
Yeah.
is so versatile. And so on its own, it's another little healing thing. And so you could use it medicinally on a wound if you needed to. But
Mm. That could also
mhm,
go into the coffee or the tea. I'm seeing that
it
too.
could totally, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wish I had Pinion nearby. I don't. I know
I
other
know, me
people won't,
too. I
but
have
I do
people
have
mail it to
fir.
me.
Do
So
you?
let me
I'll
know if you
bet.
want me to mail it
Yeah.
to you ever when I'm there.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie. After this, I'm gonna go on the shop and order like everything you mentioned. Not joking. Yeah. So, anything else that you would like to share about pine? I know we've covered a lot, and so I'm just offering an opportunity if there's anything
I guess the one thing we
like
kind of got there was
or
like pine for coughs, like a chest rub.
Mhm.
Pinions, another place we use pinion in this shop is a,
Mm.
a chest rub. Um, and so even taking conifers or pine internally when you have a stuck cough, I really like adding those in, whether that's a rub on, like the tallow could get rubbed on the chest or the back.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it helps to get that expectoration is something that I like with the pines, helping to
Yeah.
work out the crud. Yeah.
I just had this vision or thought, Brianna, just thinking you were talking about your grandfather when we started and about how, your grandparents brought the old ways here and they were, into knowing that the land around them was providing wonderful things and you kind of grew up with that. And did your grandparents live long enough to see you in this stage? And it's kind of an interesting thing, like you're second generation, right? Is that right here?
Yeah.
And you're like, you're finding the pinions, you're finding I know so many plants you have a love for, but yeah, you're just continuing on that family tradition.
Yeah, no, they died mid 80s when I was just getting into it. So they both got
Mm,
to watch me get married, and then they got to watch me. So I got
mm,
married in 2010, and I started getting into everything right around then. So they got to
mm,
watch that segue, but they did, because I became a massage therapist at 18. And
mm,
so I would come home and work on them. Like, I was at my grandmother's bedside as she passed away. Like, I was the only one that could get her to respond with little taps and stuff. It was pretty wild watching people
mm,
watching the transition and being able to still communicate with them in little ways and helpful with the body work and the massage. And so, no, they did. They got to experience those sides with me, and they both passed with like dementia and Alzheimer's stuff coming in a little bit.
mm.
So, I think that was really special, is they did get to see that segue. And that was something that was
Yeah.
like, I grew up with one of my aunties who came, she was born in Italy, and she was a massage therapist. And it's been in our lineage it's what
Mm.
we did. And so it was cool to
Yeah,
tap back
that's
in,
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that's true for all of us, no matter how, some of us have to look far, far back and use our imaginations to find that connection. So it's a really beautiful thing that you have kind of living lineage through your family, and it just shines through you. You can see like, oh, this is what Brianna was meant to be doing.
No, I mean, I have this crazy story that it still trips me out. But my nana lived till she was 102,
Mm.
and I was 2 years old when she died. So she was born in 1885. I was born in 1985. We were 100 years apart.
Wow.
And I remember her funeral, and I remember walking up to her casket and looking inside and just having this thought in my head of all these bottles, like old, and I didn't know, old antique bottles, and like trying to figure out how I was going to get her back to life. And this was like a foundational, like, it's one of my first memories. Like, when shamany stuff comes out, when you do journey work and stuff, they'd be like, well, what's your first memory? And I'm like, my great grandma's funeral. Like, walking up to
Wow.
the casket and like thinking of these bottles. And it's just like something that's seared. So I think it was something like very ancestral in our family
Mhm.
lineage. And even in the Irish side, like my great grandma Bert was also very into herbal medicine.
Mm.
And so after she died, my cousin gave me all her books, and we like
Oh,
didn't
wow.
know that really. And so I got all these loads crates of herb books that went back to like the 1950s or something. Like, they were, like, we didn't know because she really didn't talk about it, but they were all kind of doing it. And she was on the Irish side, they were in America longer than obviously the Italian side, but
Mm.
both
Wow, and
sides
you
kind
still
of
have
had.
those books?
Yeah, yeah. I have a
Okay.
lot of really
I
cool
I
old
I
things that
will
I've
come visit.
collected.
Thanks for the
No,
invite.
there's like, I've gotten some too that people have dropped off to us at the apothecary, like
Oh,
old
wow.
like mountainy stuff, that like handwritten stuff that I'd love to share sometimes, because there's some
Wow.
really cool stuff we've collected. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's really
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will accept the invitation that I kind of started
I
myself.
know we should get in on that. So I like don't even know what's in there. It's like I mean, these journals are like leather bound and wrapped and like handwritten.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Cool. All
Hmm.
right. Yeah, we'll definitely do that then.
Yeah. Yeah. Next date.
Next date. All right. Well, you've just opened this store in Michigan. How's it going?
It's going good. We opened here at the end of November. It's in Romeo, Michigan, which is about uh well, it's funny here. It's 32 miles from Detroit, but it's about an hour from Detroit if you were to say it that way,
Mm,
you know? So we're like on the northern edge of Metro Detroit area, and we're in like the
mm,
orchard farm country over here. So it's
mm,
beautiful. We have all these
mm.
orchards around us. It's a cute little historic town. Um, and it's been good. It's nice to have a new location to kind of play with, and to have different people coming in and spread it that way, and,
Mm.
have it a little multi-state action going on.
Yeah, and like I said,
So,
you create beautiful spaces with your beautiful
thanks.
formulations.
Yeah.
And
Thank you. Thank you.
you said you opened 2016 in Crested, so your 10-year anniversary.
I know we have our 10-year anniversary coming up in November, so that's super exciting. We had the warmest winter of history go on in Colorado this year.
Mm,
And so here we are. I think it's like 70 degrees there. And
wow.
yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
crazy
Um,
thing.
so yeah. So you've got the shops going, and I think you mentioned you might be getting back into teaching after taking a little sabbatical.
Yeah, I took a little sabbatical this last year, which felt so nice. I got to get into gardening, and so I started growing
Mm,
flowers and herbs, and wow, I it's my new obsession. And
mm,
so maybe I'll find time for teaching in between my new obsession. And so and I got into teaching some more kids stuff last year with the homeschool groups around here. And so we'll add in that. And it was a lot to open another store. Like I said earlier, like I forgot how much it took to open a new store. Like I thought it'd be a little easier because I had done it 2 times, but then like a whole move across the country and doing it was just a little
mm,
bit
mm.
more. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the plant camps, those are for kids. Is that what that is?
So we've been calling the kids stuff the forest hours. And so that's been
Mm,
like little couple hour things for kids that'll start back up. Like I think we had everything from little babies to like 13-year-olds that we would have them over to the homestead and they'd come. We have
mm.
10 acres out there that they can come roam and I would dial in little activities for them. And then plant camps is more the adult ones where you come for the
Oh,
weekend and do classes, and we have a workshop space in the back of the store here that we're going to set up to do classes out of the store here. And so there'll be classes that happen in Romeo and then classes that happen where the homestead is in Metamora. They're about 30 minutes apart from each other. And so I'm going to do a little variance that way. So if you want to get like way hands on and out in the field, you'll come to the homestead. If you want to do it more class, like after hours, it'll be here at the shop. So I'm
oh,
going to get
nice.
a little rhythm that way going on.
So glad you're working with the kids because you have the energy for it. You are so high
I
energy.
love the kids. The kids are like my favorite. And so, and I just had like two little buddies come in last week. They're like, "Are you going to be doing classes again?" And they were like, "Please." And I was
Aw.
like, "Yeah, yeah." And then Pearl, my youngest, she's like, "When are the kids coming over again?" And it's spring here. This is my first spring, by the way. After
Mhm,
living in Gunnison for 15, like Colorado for 20 years, I'm used to spring coming in June. And so this is the
mhm.
first time I've actually had spring. So happy spring equinox. This is my
Happy
first
spring.
time like living in the thaw and actually witnessing it.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a fun thing. There's something to be said for herbalists. Like it's always hard to leave behind one ecosystem, but to be in a new ecosystem and just experience things like kind of with a new freshness, like that's pretty fun.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Colorado's still cool. Like Colorado, I like that you can chase the seasons where it like starts low and ends high. So you
Hmm.
can like,
That's
get
where I live too. Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Like that, there's nothing that beats that because you can procrastinate and still be on time. And here, that's kind of not the case. So it's a little bit of a different game.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Am I gonna see you at Great Lakes this year
Yeah, I was
too?
literally just thinking about that this morning that I don't know if I'm going to teach or if I just want to vend. I love just hanging out. Like I loved vending last year and just like
Yeah.
being around everybody. It was nostalgic.
Yeah, that's the best part. Big shout out,
Yeah.
Great Lakes Herb Fair is what we're talking about. And
It's so
like
good.
you said yes to the Kiva Fest in 2011. You showed up. I did too.
Yeah.
It can be
Yeah.
transformative to get with people who love plants and just
And you
the
can
friendships
just
you make.
talk. Yeah, you just get to like babble out with people who actually understand what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. So Brianna, you have the shops, you have all these fun classes. What is the best way for people to find with you, connect with you, and just learn more about your offerings?
So the best way to keep up to date is definitely the newsletter. So getting to the website, which is rooted-apothecary.com, entering your email, submitting that, stay up to date with emails. We send out a few a month. We do really great sales. And so you want to keep up to date on that. We do two a year that are 40% off sales.
Oh,
There's one that's usually the first weekend of April, if this is out before then, or there's one in November, end of October, November usually. And so those are a really great time to stock up and try everything. It's like something that we did during COVID and we never got away from it, where we were like, God, we got to give back to the community, let everybody shop wholesale. And then now it just became a ritual that we open up wholesale shopping twice a year for about 3 to 5 days and we let everybody just peel out, and it's a really cool thing. And then you can
I'll
find us
also
on
say your
social media.
newsletters are very fun, just as someone
The
who gets
what?
your newsletters are very fun. I get them, I read
Yeah,
them. Yeah, they're very
they're
fun.
fun.
Yeah.
You get information. Like you're not just getting like dumped on, you're getting like to learn about things. Like the last ones, there was like a quiz in there for the spring. You learned about chickweed and nettle and plantain and a bunch of plants, and then you learn about the products and why you would want the products. And so they're really educational, is what we try to do and keep them fun. And then social media, we're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, but you'll see us have most heavily on Instagram or TikTok. So it's the best way.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, before you go, Briana, I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
That question is, what do you think herbs are especially good at teaching humans right now?
Resilience comes to my mind right off the bat, and I feel like that's probably the overplayed word that we say for herbs, but I feel like that is what they do. Like they really are a place that I feel like we reach to when we're like, for some people, out of options, right? Like that's the first time they even realize that herbs exist, is when they've tapped out of the mainstream options and they reach for something different. And so I think there's like a huge resilience to that. And then I also think, just in, even if you are someone who uses herbs a lot and you remind yourself of it because you like forget and fall off the wagon or something, I think there's resilience in that. Because they're always there. Like it's always something that can fall back, but there's always something, I feel like, out of the herb world that's going to be there for you, that's going to work, even if it's just a little bit, you know? And so that, and I think they're stronger than we are. Like we worry about them so much, but yet we watch them busting through concrete and busting through different places where it's like, no, they're going to be fine. Like, I mean, except for the endangered things, we got to really protect those. Um, but I
Yeah.
think that's something that is what's kind of needed right now, is like depending on them a little bit more, especially for our nervous systems. Like there's so much to be said about how freaking awesome Milky Oats is and how gentle it is at the same time, but how it'll like transform your brain in a half of a second when you really feel like you're
Mhm.
like caving down, or the pull of skull cap when you're feeling like you could just be like, and then you just take that little moment with it. Or I feel like that's when you get the reminder of how resilient herbs are for themselves and for you, to
Mm,
keep you kind of together. So,
yeah, it's so beautiful.
yeah.
As you were talking about it, it's funny. I just kept thinking of like, I think the same herbs you were thinking of, because I definitely was thinking about dandelions even before you talked about them breaking through the, well, that's what I envisioned, breaking through the,
I was talking about dandelions.
oh,
We were
oh,
on the
oh,
same
you know
one.
what's funny? I did not plan this. Look what I have next to me.
What is it? The Elevate? Is that the
Um,
chaga? It's green.
it's
Oh, the
kava
kava.
elixir.
I know my
Yeah.
screen's so tiny.
It's funny. I did not even plan that, but I also, I have milky oat tops here too. So these are like,
Oh, how
these are the
fun.
things that get to be around the office.
Well, and
It's
I
like, what
think
else do you
it's
need?
like,
Kava and milky oats.
it's the nervous system. I mean, we all don't know what to think or believe or do or how to help. Like, I think we're in this worldly place of like, and we got to take care of ourselves. Like we can try to take care of the whole thing and then burn out, or we can learn that we really
Mhm.
got to tend to ourselves and the fire in ourselves first, and like how to nurture that fire so the fire can stay there. And that's nervines. Like we're
Mhm.
not trying to put out the fire. We all want to keep our fire, but we got to support it. And to me, that's like, you got to keep the nervous system strong and healthy so that the fires can still burn. Because like, don't put out the fires, keep being fiery, right? But like, feed it in the right way, that it's a healthy fire. Instead of
From
like,
one color to another, I appreciate this talk a lot.
yeah, because I think it's not about shutting down. I don't think that's what a nervine is. And I think that's what some
Mm.
people think the nervines are. And then, we talk about like blue vervain being like, don't burn out on each end of the candlestick. And it's like, no, keep burning. Just learn how to burn healthy and like choose hardwood, instead of the wood that burns really fast.
That's like a lot of wisdom to drop here at the end. I really appreciate it too, though. I have often joked about my relationship with blue vervain because, yeah, I don't want to dampen fires. I do want to keep burning, but I just want
But
to
you
keep
want to
burning
keep
fresh. So.
burning. Yeah. So you got to be fed. We got to be fed well. And it's like those things, like those tropho restoratives, like Milky Oats, where it's
Mm.
actually restoring the nervous system, not just like um letting the fire get fed. It's actually like it's rebuilding it. It's that nourishing milkiness. Like you can see it where you're like, oh, you're like lubing it back up. And then you can burn a little more because we're lubing it back up and it's like an engine. So
Yeah, I love this enabling talk. This is awesome. Thank you.
I'm an enabler. Sanguine choleric
Yeah.
enabler over here.
I
who's
love it,
also in
Brianna. Thank
burnout.
you.
So it's like, as someone who like lives in and out of burnout, you gotta know how to feed burnout and
Yeah.
exist in it and then get your fire back.
Yeah, but you're so right about the nervines. They are out here to support us, not to dampen us. So I think
Yeah.
that's a really great differentiation. I really appreciate that from you.
Yeah.
I also just really appreciate that after 5 years, you finally said yes to me.
I
So
know. Thanks
thank
for
you.
keeping on asking. I feel like it
Absolutely.
was really, I just needed a couple nudges to
Yeah.
really get in here. So
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it. It's beautiful when it happened. I'm so happy to hear about Pinion and all these delightfully different ways as well. Yeah, it's been
yeah.
absolutely lovely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad you didn't stop asking. So,
Oh, absolute pleasure.
well, this was fun. I'm glad we got to chat.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much for listening. You can download your illustrated recipe card from today's episode. Just head to herbswithrosaliePodcast.com or check out the show notes for a link. If you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you as part of this herbal community so I can deliver even more herbal goodies your way. This podcast is made possible in part by our awesome students. This week's student spotlight is on Krista Sverdlov in California. Well, Krista is currently enrolled in the Herbal Energetics course and had previously joined us for Cooling Inflammation, where she began deepening her relationship with herbs during an especially meaningful season of motherhood. And as a full-time caregiver, she's been really finding beautiful ways to weave herbalism into her daily rhythms at home. She worked with nettles during her pregnancy and more recently explored motherwort and marshmallow, growing, preparing, and experiencing them in ways that reflect both curiosity and care. Her reflections are thoughtful, they're heartfelt, and often highlighting how herbs can support not just the body, but the entire experience of daily life. To honor her contributions, Mountain Rose Herbs is sending Krista a $50 gift certificate to stock up on their incredible selection of organically and sustainably sourced herbal supplies. So thank you so much, Mountain Rose Herbs, for supporting our amazing students. And if you'd like to deepen your skills as an herbalist, you can check out my foundational courses at herbswithrosalie.com. Okay, you've made it to the very end of the show, which means you get a gold star and this herbal tidbit. Pinyon pine has a long-standing relationship with one particular bird, the pinyon jay. These birds rely on pinyon nuts for food, and each year they gather and bury thousands of them in the soil. They don't recover all those hidden seeds, and that's how new pinyon trees grow. It's a beautiful example of reciprocity, one species feeding another, and in return, ensuring its future. And like so many plant relationships, it's also a bit fragile. As pinyon habitats shift with drought and climate changes, both the trees and the birds are affected. Working with pinyon isn't just about resin or the medicine, it's also a small way of stepping into that larger relationship and understanding the greater ecosystem. Thanks so much for joining me in this episode. I'll see you in the next one.